Welcome to the Arrington Gavin Show. Real talk, big opinions, and fearless conversations. From the front lines of politics to the latest in pop culture. From breaking sports headlines to the stories that move the world. Nothing's off limits, and nobody's holding back. Arrington Gavin is here to break it down, build it up, and keep it all the way real. So turn it up, lean in, and let's get into it. This is the Arrington Gavin Show.
Hey, what's happening, my friends? Welcome to the Arrington Gavin Show, your go-to spot for sharp insights, bold opinions, and unfiltered takes on the biggest stories of the day, whether it is politics, sports, pop culture, or the latest buzz. Look, we are diving deep and keeping it real, so please do me a favor, kick back, stay informed, and get ready to join the conversation. My friends, on today's conversation, I'm honored to have my dear friend, Virginia Beach City Councilwoman Jennifer Rouse, representing District 10. It's been a while. I had the opportunity of actually, the last time I interviewed Jennifer, or Councilwoman, excuse me, let me remember the title now. Remember the title. The last time I spoke with my friend was I was hosting a previous program, and this was back when she was running for the seat, for her current seat that she has been holding since, and doing a great job representing her district and just great things in the city of Virginia Beach. But I'm very honored to have her on just to catch up, see how everything is going in the city as well as happening in her district. But also I'm here to listen more about this whole debate of the voting system happening in Virginia Beach. So if y'all can't recall, I had Councilman, Virginia Beach City Councilman Cash Jackson Green, represents District 7, who was advocating for a new voting system, a 7-3-1 voting system, which means you have 7 council members, 7 individual district council members that you'll be voting on. You'll vote on a second council member at large. So you got 7 council members that'll be single member voting. Then you have an additional 3 at-large council members, and then you of course vote at large for your mayor. Now currently it's a 10-1, so in total there's 11 members on council, including the mayor. Now the way it goes is in those 10 districts, the residents of those districts will vote on one person to represent their district, one council member that represents their district. Then they will vote at large for the mayor. That is how it's been for the past couple elections. I believe it happened in 2022 as well as in 2024. Now the 10-1 voting system has been proven to add more diversity, better representation, and that's been shared from folks in the community as well as folks in leadership. But now we have folks that are saying it's time for a change now, which is interesting because I'm like, okay, why now? When is this all, why is this all coming about? So we're here to talk about it. Now, I've had my friend Councilman Cash Green, who's no stranger to the show, on speaking why he's in favor for the 7-3-1. Now I'm here to talk with Councilwoman Jennifer Rouse, who is in support and advocating to maintain and keep the 10-1 voting. So it'll be fun, great education, because that's how we do here on the program. We advocate for having a better understanding and the knowledge of not just politics on a federal level, y'all, but also on a local level. Here, I think we get distracted because we pay attention to what happens in Washington, which is still important to have an understanding, to know what's happening, because eventually that trickles down on a state level. It would trickle down on a local level. But it's really, really, really important to all our young listeners here to be informed and have an understanding of what's going on in your backyard, because it can be the simplest things. It could be the simplest things that you might not think is that important, but then it will affect you in the long run. So I'm excited to have one Councilwoman on the program. Folks, as always, thank you so much for taking 1 hour of your time to tune into the Arrington Gavin Show. Be sure to stream us on our YouTube channel, the Arrington Gavin Show YouTube channel. Be sure to like, subscribe, share with a friend, share with family. I truly appreciate that. We want to keep that momentum going. We want to grow those subscribers as well as our viewerships, which we are doing on a daily basis. So I couldn't say thank you enough, but let's keep that momentum going. Let's keep that momentum going, my friends. In addition to streaming us on YouTube, you can also stream us on GOATverse TV. That's right, GOATverse TV. If you haven't downloaded the app yet, please do so. It's available on the App Store, Google Play Store, Roku, as well as Amazon Fire TV. What else am I missing here? Oh, if you prefer to just listen to the show and not see this pretty face here, y'all stop it. Okay, I'll stop. Okay. Anyway, if go ahead and listen to us. We're available on all major podcast platforms. And in addition to that, you can also tune into the Arrington Gavin Show on the radio airwaves. Shout out to one of our radio affiliates out in the New Orleans area, WBOK, 1230 a.m. What New Orleans is talking about. You can tune into the Arrington Gavin Show weeknights at 7 p.m. Central Time, only on WBOK, 1230 a.m. What New Orleans is talking about. And then we're going to move it on to the Metro Atlanta region, to WDJY 99.1 FM Straight Talk. You can tune into the Arrington Gavin Show weeknights at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, only on WDJY 99.1 FM Straight Talk. All righty, fam. Now, before we head to a commercial break, we love to do a fun fact here. And what we've been doing recently is a fun fact about our special guests, the folks that we bring on before we have them on. We do a quick fun fact about them. So today's fun fact, I spoke with Councilwoman Rouse, and when she told me this fun fact, I was like, shaking my head. Tisk, tisk, tisk. Say it ain't so, Councilwoman. She said, look, a fun fact that a lot of folks might not know, my favorite guilty pleasure is the Real Housewives franchise. Not just the Atlanta Housewives, not just the Orange County, not just the New York. She said all of them. And I'm like, oh my goodness. Let me tell you something. When I hear Real Housewives, when I hear the word Real Housewives, and just when I see the commercials, I'm like, oh, I get a headache. I can't do it. It's always drama, just drama. But hey, Councilwoman might have another reason why she adores this program. So that is a fun fact about my friend Councilwoman Rouse. All right, friends, we are going to head to a commercial break. When we come back, look, we'll have more here on the Arrington Gavin Show. Don't go anywhere, and please do not change that dial. We'll be right back after these commercial breaks.
What's up, y'all? Welcome now.
And we still in traffic.
Don't look familiar, do I? Not in this seat.
Hey, what's that you listening to?
Here to host today.
Hey, turn it up. Yeah, this that new Goat Verse app. I got you.
So y'all want to know where the goats are? They're off on the sidelines.
Looking for fresh, relevant content wherever you go?
What was the name of that he said?
Introducing GoatVerse TV.
GoatVerse, that's what it's called.
The free streaming app that brings you the best podcasts, current events, and thought-provoking opinions all in one place. Download it now from the Apple Store or Play Store. In Goats, we trust.
Let me tell you something most people get wrong about suits. A suit isn't just about you wearing it. It's how you show the world who you are. It's your handshake before you say a word, your presence when you step into any room. That's why we design statements at Dapper Luke. We don't just make suits. We'll start with the fabrics that tell your story, luxurious wools, silk, linen, and blend sourced from the finest mills in Italy, the UK, and India. Then we'll combine that with your vision, your personality, and your style. Every detail is tailored to you, from the fit to the finish. Whether for your wedding, a gala, the boardroom, we specialize in creating custom suits that are unique, just like the men who wear them. We spent years perfecting this craft, apprenticing under designers in New York and showcasing collections in New York and for Baltimore Fashion Week. None of that matters as much as seeing the look on your face when you try on your custom suit. Over 900 clients have already trusted us to deliver the best custom suits. They trust me to deliver the confidence. We proudly serve Virginia Beach and Baltimore and would be honored to bring your vision to life next. Let's create something unforgettable. Book your free consultation today at www.dapperluke.com.
Order your beard care products with Rugged Evolution. We're your local beard care line that supports the maintenance of your full, mature beard. Our line includes conditioning shampoos, moisturizers, balms, oils, shaving lotions, and exfoliating soaps. These products moisturize, hydrate, nourish, and have all the natural ingredients for a healthy beard. Log on to our website or download our app to place your orders. Become a man of distinction with Rugged Evolution Beard Care. And remember,
Rugged is the new smooth.
All right, family, welcome back to the Arrington Gavin Show. I'm your friend, your homie, Arrington Gavin, and I'm going to bring on my good friend, Virginia Beach City Councilwoman representing District 10, Councilwoman Rouse. How are you doing, my friend?
Hey, Arrington. I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I am doing great. Look, it's been a minute. I know you've been busy doing awesome things in the city of Virginia Beach, specifically District 10, but you've been everywhere. But first, I want to say congrats, because the last time I didn't see you, you didn't have a new addition to the family. Rouse on a beautiful baby girl. So congrats on
Thank
on that.
you.
I see you on social media. I'm like, oh, she is adorable. I think
love
it's just,
her.
it's the cheeks. It's definitely the cheeks.
Yes, she's the best thing in the world. So, an incredible part of my life. So thank you.
For it has been talk about what happened. Share.
I couldn't hear the question. It all cut out.
Oh, we're having a little technical difficulties.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
I hear you now.
Okay, I was asking in regards to it's been a minute since the last time we spoken. How has everything going on in District 10? Share some of the some of the accomplishments, and maybe soon to be goals that pushing for District 10.
Yeah. So District 10, it's in the heart of Virginia Beach. So if you look at a map of the city, we're right in the center. And the district is characterized as majority housing, not a lot of commercial development. If there is, it's all around the periphery. But most of our land is zoned for housing and schools. So it's a relatively young district compared to the city. The average age, it's me, it's us elder millennials. It's people working and raising their families. So I would say, since being on council, one of my main drivers and motivations for running was to represent neighborhoods. So one of the biggest complaints I remember hearing as a resident of the city is that city council seemed to, whether it's reality or perception, give all of its resources and spend all of its time at the oceanfront or the resort area, but neighborhoods miss out. And I thought, well, I'd like to change that. So I'm now in my third year on council representing District 10, and every year I've gotten something for my district.
Wow.
So my first year, I collaborated with a colleague who shares our districts border each other, and we did a beautification project on a road, so a major thoroughfare, heavy traffic, just a lot of people going to and fro. We were like, hey, why can't this part of the city be pretty too? And that might seem small, but if there are resources, let's not just spend them in one part of the city, but spread them around. And so we were able to allocate funding to plant native plants and trees all along this thoroughfare. So now, there's it's prettier, and you can weigh that for what it's worth. But I know that initially, it did get some excitement. People were driving and they said, oh, this is new. And, there's trees and there's plants, and it's not just an empty median. So that was my first year. And then my second year, all across the city, there are underdeveloped parks. So that means there's a city park, and maybe it has like a swing set, or maybe it has something, but, it could go to another level. And so in my second budget, I learned that there were 2 underdeveloped parks in my district. So I was able to secure funding to upgrade one of those parks. And so it's within a neighborhood, and it makes it more accessible so more people can use it. So kids, young adults, and families can all find something to do at the park. And then my third year on council, for a budget, I was able to get a Parks After Dark program in my district. And so that was a weeks-long summer program, partnership with the police and Parks and Rec, and it provided free opportunities for residents in the district and surrounding. So free movies, free food, free fun. And I'm really proud of those things that, one of my aims was to make sure that people that have usually not been, that have felt ignored, felt that they were getting attention. And I'm hoping that people are seeing, like, yeah, our district is getting some love.
That is awesome. Now, and I'm hearing all this because I'm hearing you staying busy. I'm hearing all this great stuff happening in your district. So where does the time to watch Real Housewives? No, I'm not gonna go there. I'm not gonna go there.
But first of all, you were naming them though. For someone to say, "Oh, what are you talking?" You were it was rolling off the tongue real easy. That's all I'm saying.
Look, I might have walked by my wife watching them a couple times or something. You know,
Sure.
I just skim through. I walk by. That's all. You know, she got the TV. I don't try and change anything. I just say I watch it with you.
Sure.
But that's very important, because one thing for a lot of our listeners that are not familiar with, you know, the state of Virginia, specifically Hampton Roads, is Virginia Beach alone is a premier city. You know, in the state of Virginia, it's the largest city population wise. The oceanfront is it is a touristy destination. You have the beaches, you have the hotels, you have now a new developed surf park, you have the concert, you have everything at the oceanfront in Virginia Beach. So I can understand, like when you mentioned neighborhoods feel ignored, because it's like, okay, a lot of the money and attention is being brought to what's bringing the city money, rather than, wait a minute, what about those who call it home? What about us that stay here, that continue to pay taxpayer dollars? So I think that's very important. And you said something too, the folks feeling like they're not they feel wanted again. They feel they're not misrepresented, because for I'm a lifelong Chesapeake resident, and in Chesapeake we have communities that, in my opinion, feel overlooked. We still, for me, there shouldn't be such thing as a food desert area in in any city. So I know for us, we have a lot of work to do. I always love to remind my fellow friends on city council, like, hey, you got some work to do. I'm just saying I'm absolutely but I want to talk about, what are some of the any more future goals for the area in District 10 that has been either brought up by residents, because I know you do a lot of kind of not Q&As, but just follow-ups with your local residents in District 10. Anybody requested certain things to be like, hey, look, it would be nice to have this, and has it been something that had you brought up to council?
So what I've been hearing most recently is parents of like teenage kids to maybe like middle school kids who are looking for something for them to do. So to me, it's a bit of a connection with public safety and also youth development, which is that what's it, right? Like, it's like Lynn Haven Mall, there's a curfew, right? Or you have to be with an adult after a certain hour. So when you get to a certain age and you want to have fun, and it doesn't cost your parents or your adults a lot of money, what is there to do in the city, especially if you're concentrated in the middle? So maybe you can't just walk to the beach and enjoy it. So what are the opportunities for recreation that are not very expensive, but that are accessible for for all of us, but for our youth? And so that's something that I've heard coming up more and more, at least in my district, for those that I've been talking to, as an issue that, because if you just like stop someone in Walmart, it's like, hey, how are things going? Off the cuff, most people are saying, I'm fine, right? They're like, if they had more time to think of, but something that comes up after, like, I'm fine, but it would be nice if there was more things for the kids to do. So that's something where there's not one clear, easy answer for that, but it's something I've been thinking about, going into the next budget. We just did Parks After Dark. So that was some kind of programming, but it was only for the summer. So what are the year-round opportunities for families? That's something I'm thinking about.
Okay, that's awesome. Councilwoman, I gotta talk about this whole issue in the area on the voting system. This referendum being brought up. There was brought up a 7-3-1. Now, currently in the city of Virginia Beach, you guys have a 10-1 voting system. Now, was there anything you would love to add to just the voting system in Virginia Beach that I might have left out in the beginning of the show?
I would just say, as a Chesapeake resident, I was very impressed by your ability to break down these differences in the voting system. So, okay, good for you for knowing and paying attention. Yeah. You probably do that after Housewives, when you're watching Housewives. So there's, okay. the history of Virginia Beach, the city is 60 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And in the majority of the city's life, the city was in a 7-3-1 voting system.
Okay.
So what that means is that there were 7 residency requirements, 3 at-large seats, and
Mm-hmm.
1 mayor. So the voting practices of the city of Virginia Beach has been overwhelmingly at large.
Mm-hmm.
The only difference in the old 7-3-1 system is that everybody could vote for everybody. So say you wanted to run for city council in the original system, the original 7-3-1.
Mm-hmm.
You wanted to run for city council and you lived in the Kempsville area. But you would have to say, well, I live in Kempsville, I'll run to represent Kempsville. But people who live in Bayside could also vote for the Kempsville representative.
Okay.
So even though the council members had to live in a certain district to represent them, everybody in the city could vote for everybody. So there was a residency requirement, but it functioned as at large, where the whole city voted for everybody.
Gotcha.
Now, how do we get to a 10-1 system, the current system that we're in? 2 African-American women sued the city of Virginia Beach and said the original 7-3-1 system was discriminatory. It violated Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, because when you have at-large voting, in practice, what that means is minority votes get drowned out. So let's say minorities live in the Bayside area and they want to elect someone who they think can best represent their interest. And maybe in their vote, their candidate won. But because the entire city also got to vote for the Bayside rep, they may have lost their voting power because the whole city got to decide who represented them in Bayside, even if they lived at the ocean front. So a federal court judge agreed and said, yeah, if you look at the history of Virginia Beach politics, it has been overwhelmingly white, male, rich. So even though in theory, anybody can run for office, in practice, racial minorities and what I call normals in terms of how much money you have had a harder time getting elected in that system. So a judge put us in a 10-1 system, a single member district system with 1 at-large person, the mayor. And what he did was, or what then happened is the entire city. So Virginia Beach is the biggest city in the Commonwealth. We have about 460,000 people. Those 460,000 people are carved out into 10 districts of about 46,000 people each. And so now you can only elect the person in your district. Wherever you live, you can only elect the person to represent where you live and no one else except the mayor. Now, some people in this argument about the where do we go from here will say, well, you've lost your voting power because now you can only vote for one person. But then that makes me think of the conversation we just had where you're saying, hey, Chesapeake, there are some people that are getting ignored. Or I just shared, hey, there are some neighborhoods that aren't getting represented. And what's happened is in a single member district, maybe you're not voting for as many people as you could before, but you're getting more power out of your vote. Because now I'm obligated to make sure that the 30,000 people or so voting folks in my district, that their voice is heard on city council. And when I was running for office, I remember people knocking on doors and people were saying, a candidate has never come to knock on my door before. And that's because they never had to. In a former system, you didn't have to go to certain neighborhoods. You just had to get enough votes across the city. And that might mean certain parts of the city got ignored because their votes didn't matter because you could just win your votes from other places. So what's happened in the 10-member district system is that now you actually have to talk every voter in the city. Somebody is going to reach out to you because they need your vote as the district rep. And since I've been in office, I've been able to get resources into my district that they haven't had before because who was advocating for them?
Exactly. I love what you said. Obligated. That word stuck with me because I have always spoken with my friends in council. I've been fortunate to, interact with really majority of them in the 7 cities just to get different perspective, because in the Hampton Roads area, I'm gonna kind of educate our listeners here. So in Hampton Roads, Virginia, we have 7 cities, and I want to say 3 out of the 7 cities are still at large. The others have some form of a single member voting system, whether if it's a ward system, district system, they represent a certain district in their selected city. And I always say this, I'm like, if I'm an elected official, I'm an advocate, work smarter, not harder. So what makes sense for me to say, okay, I'm going to be in charge of 400,000 plus, but I think it would be a little easier to look over 35,000 or lower, because it's like, okay, now I can really focus on the true issue happening within my area. And on top of that, obligated. It gives the people power to say, okay, look, you are the person that's in charge. You are our person that we get in contact with. If it's at large, you got to be, it's almost like when you call the hotline, not the hotline, the help desk or something. They're like, okay, can I transfer you to this person? Oh, let me pass it on to this. Oh, let me pass it on to this. We're not getting that. And so I've spoken with folks that have been, on against some form of a single member voting system. And I continue to say at the end of the day, it gives the people more power to say, okay, look, now we know you are obligated to answer our questions, to take care of this. We can't point our fingers on anybody else but you. So for me, I've always assumed, the 10-1 seems quite fair, because you have 11 people. You have 10 members of council taking care of each individual district. Any form of at large, I'm not really crazy about it. And we see that happen in a lot of cities, whether if it's like, 2 at large members, 3 at large, I believe. Like the city of Norfolk, instead of having at large, they have like a super ward. So, right. I mean, they which is similar, I would say, to, somewhat of a at large. Well, not really, but somewhat. And so, so it's interesting. So, I had the opportunity to have on, your colleague, Councilman Cash Jackson Green, who's a dear friend of mine. Cash is awesome, and he's for the 731. Now, he was saying, in theory, the 10-1, yes, it sounds, but it's better representation for the 7-3. Now, Councilwoman Rouse, I want to ask, where is he wrong in this case? I'm saying, okay, it's better representation with a 7-3-1 than it is a 10-1 voting system.
I would say representation for whom? So 7-3-1 is better representation for people who have a lot of money. 10-1 is better representation for residents in the city. So the modified 7-3-1 that's on the ballot, what the voters of Virginia Beach are asked to do this November or September, if you're doing early voting, is to say, do you want to, yes, continue voting under our 10-1 system, which is what we currently have. We've done 2 elections under that system. Or do you want to change to something called a modified 7-3-1, which is really the same thing. The modified 7-3-1 is that you still have 7 districts. So that means the city will be carved out, instead of 10 districts, 7 districts. And members of those districts can only represent one or vote for one of the 7. You'd have 3 at large and 1 mayor. Now, the issues of the original 7-3-1 are still the issues in the modified 7-3-1, which is it can disenfranchise the minority vote, any at-large system. This is the issue that the judge said. We invited UVA researchers. They have a Karsh Institute of Democracy. The city of Virginia Beach paid them to do a study of our voting system, to survey residents. And what they reported back, and this report is available on the City of Virginia Beach website, the UVA Weldon Cooper report, they essentially said Virginia Beach is odd in its voting system. And any at-large system is what disenfranchises minority votes, because whether you're a racial minority, a religious minority, in whatever way you are fewer in number than the dominant group, you are always going to lose voting power in at-large, because you don't have the numbers. So the numbers will overwhelm your group, if your group votes against or votes in a different direction than the majority group. So on one issue, it's racial, but on another issue, the 7-3-1 system is an economic issue. And that's that in order to run at large, you have to raise a lot of money. Did I mention we're the biggest city in Virginia Beach? So to run for city council, it is not a cheap endeavor. The district system, however, you just have to convince 30,000 or so voters, and you can do that by putting your shoes on and knocking doors like I did. I
Gotcha.
raised $28,000 in my race for city council,
Mm.
and my opponent and some of the other races around the city raised six figures. Now, our role is part-time. We're paid $28,000 a year. And what I've been putting out to the public is, why would anyone pay six figures, raise six figures to win a seat that pays $28,000 a year? What you're buying is something else, right? When big donors start putting in six-figure donations into city council races, what is it that you're actually paying for? So in a 731 system, what you're hearing, what the other side will say, oh, you get more votes, you get more votes. But no, you don't. Because what ends up happening is what has happened for the last 60 years in Virginia Beach, that people with money win. That's in politics, even outside of Virginia Beach. It tends to be whoever raises the most money wins. Not always the best candidate, but whoever is able to raise the most funds, because you can get your message out. When you get money, you can put yourself on TV, you can get flyers and mailboxes, you can get digital ads on social media and on your program. But if you got no money, how do you get your message out? How do you canvass and knock doors on hundreds of thousands of voters?
So I want to add to that, because again, I'm a slow learner here. So with the three at large, so again, if I'm a resident of the city of Virginia Beach, and I'm just saying I'm in District 10, so I can vote. I can obviously vote for an extended, or I can vote for another council member outside my district, regardless of which district they are running in. Like, how is an at-large? I guess that's the question I want to ask. How is an at-large candidate elected in an at-large position? Like, is it basically like all for one? Like, does all members of their districts just vote for, in all of Virginia Beach? So say if you were running a re-election, and instead of you just staying strong in District 10, you go throughout all of Virginia Beach districts, I'm assuming. Does that kind of make sense?
Yep. So at large would be there's no residency requirement. You can live anywhere in the city, because you're voting, you're running to represent all of the city.
I got
So
you.
there's you don't have to say, I live in this part of town, or I live in this part of town. If you're at large, you can live anywhere as long as it's Virginia Beach, and all of Virginia Beach can vote for you. Now, the risk of that is that right now we have 10 districts, which means all of the city has representation at the table. Literally, the city of Virginia Beach is carved out into 10 districts. So there's a voice for each of those neighborhoods at the table. If we go to a modified 731 and 3 are at large, 3 of those seats at the table could all live in one neighborhood. So you actually don't get more voting power. You actually don't get more influence on council, because it could be that the at-large seats all come from the same part of town, which means one part of town may get 4 votes on council, because there's the district person and maybe 3 at large that live all around the same area. So then those issues can be heavily advocated for on council, where some neighborhoods and some voices may be ignored.
I got you. I mean, it makes sense. I guess I want to play a little devil's advocate. So then I will say, what's preventing other folks to make a run? Because you're saying if say one of the wealthiest districts in the city has 3 folks in that district that says, I want to vote. I want to make a run at an at-large position. What's preventing, folks from some of the minority areas? I mean, you know what I mean? Like, it seems like at the end of the day, it makes the election a little tougher, but it's not preventing folks to make the run. If that kind of, if I'm making sense with that question.
Yeah.
I know I'm weird when I ask my questions, y'all. So bear with me. I'm trying to understand the question I want to ask, as well as understanding. So yeah.
Yeah, again, that to me is a difference between like theory and practice. Like, theoretically, anybody can be rich, right? Like, if you're born into poverty in a country like the United States, theoretically, you could become a billionaire. Like, there's no law that says you can't, but what are the odds that you do? That's kind of what this is, because if you look at the history of Virginia Beach City Council races, there have been attempts whether racial minorities or people from the middle class, maybe the working
I
class who
got
have
you.
made runs. There's no law prohibiting them from doing that, but the outcome has been they lose.
And a key factor is due to the financial part of it. So it goes back to that. I totally hear you on that one. I totally hear you. And I just wanted to kind of dissect that a little more because I know that, again, I've spoken with the other side, and then of course listeners here just saying, okay, what's preventing folks from just making that run? But again,
Anybody
it's
can
more
run.
to it than just exactly.
Right. Like, and I would encourage everybody, if you want to, like, I think we should get diversity of candidates. And to me, that's what the 10-1 system has produced. Not only are we the most racially in the 2 elections under the 10-1 system, it has produced not only the most racially diverse city council, where there were 1, 2, 3, 4 African Americans at one time on city council, but also we've been the youngest city council in history. So
Very
I'm
true.
39, and there were, at least from the time that I got elected, maybe like 4 under 45 on council. So, we've had, it's a mix of Republican, Democrat. It's about, we're at odd numbers. So it's I would say kind of as best as it can, evenly split. But we've had younger people run. We've had people who have never run for office before run and win. Same with school boards. So whatever the voters decide in November, and if a judge decides we can even do it, which is why I didn't vote to have a referendum put to the ballot anyway, because I don't know that we can actually, I don't know what our legal options are, because a judge put us in this. So I was like, I don't, but anyway.
I got you.
But there are, for school board and city council in Virginia Beach, new faces who have never been in politics before, who ran and who won, and who are serving their cities with fresh perspectives, fresh voices. And again, everyday people, some retired, some currently working, some raising families, and that's really different from what politics has looked like in the city of Virginia Beach.
That's very interesting. That's very interesting to know. And I have seen that firsthand. I've had on previous officials representing the city of Virginia Beach, and seeing the the progression after the 10-1 voting system, because again, as I said here, as a lifelong Chesapeakean, we see other cities. Because we use it as okay, look, you see the progression with this. Why can't we do some form of that? Because it will change up again, more diversity, not just in diversity in cultures, but diversity in perspective too, and in age. That's one thing that I think a lot of voters are, and experiences, absolutely. And that's one thing that voters now is advocating for, is the representation. I've said it here many times on this program, and no disrespect to any of the elected officials that we currently have, but there should be some form of a term limit. We have some folks of a certain age. I will just say that it's like, okay, I think it's around that time. And there are folks that are very qualified, who are a little more youthful, that can I won't say easily, but that can also have what it takes to succeed the position. So I go back to voters wanting to see better representation in the community. I've spoken with Councilman Jackson Green when he was previously on, and I had to share, because he had made some good points of the 731, but I mentioned to him about the signage and the ads always say you don't have what's the word? Every vote count. Don't you want the right to vote? You're losing your voting rights. And I kind of somewhat, challenge. And I'm not that kind of person that will challenge all the time. But it's, why is it being promoted as you're losing voting rights, when it's like I feel like that's it's misinformation to the public. I mean, you have, and I've seen both sides. I've seen where you have a voting rights advocate that are in support of 731. We've had folks because they, just like the 10-1 voting system, you have bipartisanship happening with that campaign. I remember seeing yourself. I want to say I know Senator Rouse was on there. former Councilman John Moss. And then oh my goodness, was Delegate Askew on that as well? Okay. So I remember seeing that. And so right then and there you have some bipartisanship, because not everybody was representing the same aisle on there. So that's important. We tend to see a lot of division happen on the political aisle, at least on the federal level. So it's pretty important to see that bipartisan. But I will say there's been similar on the opposing side too. So how have you all been advocating and getting the message across the city on why say yes to the 10-1 voting, or why vote yes for the 10-1 voting system?
So actually my husband, he's so good at this stuff. We were at that town hall. Somebody said, what should we say to people when they say these signs, or what does it mean? And just off the cuff, he said, if big money is telling you to vote no, you should vote yes. And so what we know is that if you look at the donor history of the 731 side, it's realtors, it's industries that are funding real estate, realtors, building. These are industries and people with big pockets. Now, that's not to demonize those folks, but it's to just put in perspective. On one side, you've got some individuals who can donate $10,000 just that right there I'm just donating out of my own bank account, $10,000, and it's funding all these signs that are coming up. The vote no side has raised something like $400,000. The vote yes side is not big money. We're people who are saying, no, it shouldn't take money to get involved in politics. It should take a good plan and telling people that plan and people agreeing with it so they vote for you. And then you win the vote, you win the power. Money shouldn't buy you the power. Being a good candidate should earn you the power. So what we're saying with the vote yes is vote yes to maintain the current system, vote yes to keep money out of politics, vote yes for district and fair representation.
That is awesome. It's funny because I had a good friend of mine who I know you're familiar with, Melissa Luxon, who's an advocate in the city of Virginia Beach and a firecracker. I will say Melissa does not play. She had posted on Facebook, and it was interesting. She shared the sign of the vote for the 731 literally at a construction site in front of a company that was a development, a real estate development company. So it's interesting. It's interesting. I think for one, the question in regards to the money that goes into local campaigns alone is an episode of itself, because you do raise a great question: is why is it that money, six-figure, is being raised for a position that is so? I mean, that is a big question, because I know for sure I've seen elections on a local level, y'all, on a local level in the 300,000s more. I've seen even some of them kind of hit that mark to the million, which blows my mind. I think again, I always say that's an episode of itself, because it's a lot. It's a lot.
What are you paying for?
What are you paying for?
When you donate and you raise that much money, what is it that you're actually paying for?
It's just it's unfortunate, and again, I think now in our times, earning the public's trust should be the biggest thing on the chopping block for all officials who are either currently running or just I even to like yourself that's in the seat. It's an important thing to have, to make sure you keep that trust going between the officials and the community, because again, we're in Hampton Roads, Virginia, majority federal workers. So again, let's talk a little bit on the federal level. What's happening in Washington? You have government cuts, you have funding cuts. I mean, it's not a good time right now. It's not a good time right now. So voters are impatient. Voters are very impatient, and we see protests happening on a regular in certain areas around Hampton Roads, and they have questions that they want answered. It's taking time on those answers, but people are hot right now. So having that representation is important, and that's a right that they're like, I do not want to lose. I do not want to lose the right to have that one-on-one conversation with my elected official, and which again I want to give you your flowers, Jennifer, because again I'm if I'm not there in person, I'm always watching, from afar, through social media and stuff, and you're everywhere, like literally you're everywhere. I know you and Senator Rouse was recently at Congressman Bobby Scott's annual cookout, which is a big annual thing in the Hampton Roads area. And so and that's just one of many functions in addition to advocating and fighting for this voting system. So it's a lot, y'all. It's a lot. But Councilwoman, please don't go anywhere. We're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, I would love to talk some more politics, at least on a state level, because we have some big elections happening in the state of Virginia. If you don't mind staying with us.
I'd love to.
Awesome. All right, my friends, look, do not go anywhere. I'm your guy, Arrington Gavin, joining with Councilwoman Jennifer Rouse. Do not go anywhere. You're listening to the Arrington Gavin Show. We'll be right back after these commercial breaks.
Jazeran Learning Institute, LLC, is a hybrid learning center that strives to educate adults and children in all fields. During the day, we offer programs that are focused on developing students from pre-K to 12th grade, which includes tutoring, homeschool co-op, an after-school program, SAT, ACT prep, and many more engaging academic programs. Our adult education programs include workforce trainings, GED prep, life coaching, various seminars, and many more. Our vision is to train and educate in a positive way that will lead to a positive change in the world, one person at a time. For more information, visit us online at jazeranlearninginstitute.com or call us at 757-208-7407.
Become a man of distinction with Rugged Evolution Beard Care. Order our scented beard.
All right, my friends, welcome back. Welcome back to the Arrington Gavin Show. I'm your guy, Arrington Gavin. Joining me is my good friend, Virginia Beach City Councilwoman Jennifer Rouse, representing District 10. We just been having a great conversation in regards to this voting battle happening in the city of Virginia Beach. Again, there's a battle, or there's going to be a referendum on the ballot in November for residents to vote on if they want to maintain a 10-1 voting system, in addition, or have a change, a modified 7-3-1 voting system. So I hope y'all received all the great educational tools. I would like to put up the website right before we discuss. Well, actually, let's go ahead and move it in. I'll put up the website towards the end. Okay. But I want to talk a little bit about just state politics happening in Virginia. So we have a big election that is really talked about nationally, because one thing I've caught on is the Commonwealth state of Virginia. What happens here really can affect the remainder of 49 states in the nation. So we have a governor's race, a most talked about governor's race between former Congresswoman Abigail Spanberger, who is a Democratic nominee, and you have our current lieutenant governor, the Republican nominee, Winsome Earl Sears. If you want to add anything to that, Councilman, how has the campaign trail, because I know you've been everywhere in support, if it's okay if I can say, in support of in support of Abigail Spanberger. What has been, I would say, one of the biggest questions, or one of the most shared questions that's being brought up in certain gatherings on the campaign trail that you've been hearing, that's kind of repeating?
Well, there's a lot of concern about chaos. So chaos in Washington, and feeling as if we need an executive office in Virginia who can defend Virginia against chaos in Washington. So that could be like, just, what was it? It was, I don't even know if it was today or a couple of days ago. In Hampton Roads, offshore wind has been an emerging industry. We've had, tens of billions of dollars in grants to help fund this. And because of chaos in Washington, projects that are already in process, funding has been pulled. I've been getting emails to my council account because of shifts in, I don't know what the exact policy is, but something has happened with Medicaid funding and adult care facilities where people are saying, hey, my dad is in this facility. He needs this kind of care. that I can't give him at home, and now they won't accept his Medicaid, or they can't accept their. So it's not only the Northern Virginia folks who are saying, oh, the federal workforce that's been impacted, but it's also even here in Hampton Roads, people who perhaps don't realize how the federal government touches their lives when you have healthcare policy, when you've got opportunities for economic development, but you shut down industries because of tariffs, and people aren't hiring or people are firing because you're in a tariff war. So what I'm hearing is people saying we want someone who can stand up for us, or who can create a buffer, who can defend, because it feels like Virginia needs to get on the defense, because the Trump administration is on an offense to completely obliterate the federal government as we know it. And it's bringing chaos. And so I hear people that are afraid, Social Security, what's going to happen, my healthcare, what's going to happen. So they're wanting to see Abigail Spanberger elected. They want to see Jay Jones elected as an attorney general who will actually stand up, unlike our current attorney general who is in line. The current lieutenant governor, our current governor are all in lockstep with Trump. What I'm hearing is people want the opposite. They want someone who will defend the Commonwealth and not accept the chaos that's coming our way.
You spoke on it. Keyword chaos. I mean, folks know here on this program, I'm very in the middle, but when it comes to what's happening in Washington, who's in leadership in Washington, I can't hold my tongue. It still amazes me that you have folks who are either repeat supporters, and what I mean by supporters, those who have voted multiple times for this man, and then you have those who are still elected in office that knows, oh gosh, what are we doing here? I mean, it's interesting. It's very interesting, and that's why it's no shocker when I see the amount of long-standing Republicans that said, hey, look, I'm leaving the GOP. I'm leaving. I'm bouncing. I mean, I have never witnessed in my lifetime. I think I was reading a story not too long ago about a former lieutenant governor out of Georgia who he left the GOP, and now he's switching over to the Democratic Party. Now I'm just like, whoa, I mean, it's just we have never seen the turnaround like we've been seeing under this gentleman who since getting into office has not been roses. I mean, it's been chaos 24/7.
Well, he pulled up the Rose Garden. If you're talking about roses, he paved over Jackie Kennedy's Rose Garden and put in a patio.
I mean, well, he's trying to turn into his own, I guess Mar-a-Lago for in DC. I mean, it's laughable. He's remodeled everything to the most tackiest of the tackiest, removing portraits of individuals that he's extremely jealous of. I mean, come on now. We all know why he be moving Obama's picture and stuff like that. Like it kills him to see an educated, accomplished dude like that, man, to at this. So that's a whole nother story. But with our current lieutenant governor, in my opinion, it's been a struggle for just the right in the state of Virginia, because there was an interview a while back on CNN where our current lieutenant governor was on, and it was asked a simple question: what's your take on the recent federal worker cuts? What's it? And she wanted to skip over. She wanted to skip over the question, and I'm like, it's a simple question, and to say that, well, let's not talk about it because I know what you're trying to do here. I know what you're trying to do. I'm like, why is she skipping over one of the most important questions? Because your state is made up of a majority of federal workers, and I just think enough is enough. I mean, we have a governor right now who his nickname is the veto in chief, because everything you give to him, he vetoes. So I don't think it's really been any changes. But I was
including our 10-1 charter request, by the way. The 10-1 system, the city council has put, because we were mandated and or remanded into this system. So in our legislative agenda, we asked the General Assembly for 2 years, update our city charter to reflect this system. And it passed out of the Senate and the House, and it got to the governor's desk and he vetoed it. Now, if you were to ask folks around town, they would wonder whether that veto had anything to do with the governor's connection to some of the folks who are bankrolling the 731 machine, because there are direct connections to those groups. So some people that goes to representation. If you have enough money, you can dial a phone and get the governor on his personal cell phone, as opposed to some of the rest of us who have to go another way. With 10-1, everybody's got access, at least to your local representative. And money doesn't get in the way of if you can get to your person. But anyway.
Wow. I mean, I tell you, having money it's just must be nice to be rich, huh? I mean, I don't know. It must be nice to have
I wouldn't say, if somebody gave me $1 million, I'm not gonna say no. But I also would be like, let's not, screw people over in the process.
Absolutely. No, I've always said when they say, more money, more problems. I like, well, look here, more money can take care of some of my problems. I don't know about, it's more money, more problems. It can take care of some of my problems. But no, it's very disturbing, and it is sad because this happens really across our nation. This is not just happening, y'all, here in the state of Virginia. I mean, this happens all over. I've had conversations with officials and just activists from different parts of the United States, and they're saying the exact same thing. I'm just like, wow, like why is this? This should not be the new norm, or not a new norm. This should not be the norm. I just, I don't know. It's difficult because I'm always here pushing for young people to get out there and vote, because I know in the recent primaries that we had here in the state, it was a low voting turnout, which again, is understandable because primaries are normally lower than your general election, but it was extremely low. And the last presidential election was extremely low. And so when you hear stories like this occurring, it makes my job a little more difficult when I'm talking with, whether if it's friends or cousins, and saying, why I don't care about voting. I don't want to vote. Like, it's a waste of my time. Councilwoman, what would you say to folks that question if their vote even counts?
I would say I understand it. Like, I get it. I get the frustration. I get especially for people who voted, their candidate didn't win, or they voted and their candidate got in office and didn't do what they promised, or they voted and the candidate got in office and, disappointed them. So what I'll say is vote anyway. So it's our right as Americans to shape our government. And the only mechanism that we have in a democratic system is our vote, which, again, it's not an original thought, but if the vote wasn't so important, the opposition wouldn't be trying so hard to make it harder to vote, right? By putting in all these barriers, all these extra conditions. You need this kind of ID. We're going to take away mail-in voting. We're going to reduce the number of days you can vote. Virginia, we have become one of the more accessible states to vote in because we now have 45 days of early voting. We're ranked, I don't know what our number is, but we're pretty high ranked in terms of trying to make the ballot accessible. We allow for mail-in voting. So if you've got, accessibility things and or just convenience, you don't want to have to wait in line, you can drop off your ballot. If voting wasn't so important, then Trump wouldn't be saying things like, I want to abolish mail-in voting. And they wouldn't be trying to question it so hard, right? Because one of the hallmarks of trying to dismantle democracy is to attack the system at its core, which is question voting at all. Right? Can we trust the vote? Can we trust the electoral process? Voter fraud this, voter fraud that. And they're sowing distrust in the voting process because they know in our system, voting is how you get power. We just saw all this gerrymandering, Texas redistricting in the middle of a census. That what they're doing, I don't know if it's illegal. They're not supposed to do it. Redistricting happens every 10 years. They are in the middle. We as a country are in the middle of a 10-year cycle. And they're saying, because Trump said, we need to win in 2026, change the districts. And they have made it so that Black and brown people in Texas have lost their voting power because they've gerrymandered them into districts that are overwhelmingly Republican. That's not to say all Black and brown people vote Republican. But what it's showing is if you're cheating and you're maneuvering the voting process, that says something about how powerful voting is. So long as we are free and we can do it, vote.
I mean, you said it right there, Councilwoman. I put up on the screen for those who are listening to us. I put up on the screen how they can get in touch on for those who are in the local level and just out that are abroad that's curious about this 10-1 voting. Councilwoman, how are ways they can learn more about this for those who are listening to the program?
Yep. So there's a number of different ways. There's a number of different groups. There's one you can see here, vote yes on 101.com. There's another one, vote or yes for VB. So YESFORVB.com. Also social media for that. Yes for VB. And it's a way to, what we've been telling people is when you get at Virginia Beach voters, when you get to the referendum, vote yes, and tell your people vote yes. We may not have hundreds of thousands of dollars, but we've got people, and it's people that vote. So this November, vote yes.
Councilwoman, I want to thank you so much. Look, don't go anywhere. I want to chop it up with you just for a little bit after the show. But y'all, I hope, as always, you enjoyed another great conversation here on the Arrington Gavin Show. Peace and blessings, y'all. Talk to y'all soon. I'm out.